G'day everyone, welcome to FinChats. My name is Hoi,
My name is Hugh.
and today we're talking about the type of careers that CFA charter holders might be able to expect after they get their designation. So, Hugh, what are the types of most common types of careers that a CFA chartered holder can expect?
Yeah, sure, Hoy. There's three main sort of jobs that CFA charter holders can, expect to end up in after completing their exams. Also, even if you're a candidate, you can end up in one of these jobs along your CFA journey. The first one is on buy side research or what they call investment analysts. So, a job where you're essentially analyzing and valuing a type of security, whether that's a stock or a bond or any other sort of instrument. So, a lot of your time would be, doing Excel modeling or some sort of modeling to determine the value of the security. And then you're pitching either a buy or hold or sell recommendation to your manager. And in this case, that's a portfolio manager. And that's the second type of job that you can end up into, which is portfolio management. And in that role, that entails constructing, as the name suggests, a portfolio of these securities that these analysts value on their day-to-day job. So what the portfolio managers do, they have more of an emphasis on what does the portfolio look like on a whole from a risk return perspective. Do all these securities put together, is there enough risk in there to achieve the return goals? But they want to also make sure that the risk isn't too what they call unintended. They want to make sure that it is managed appropriately. So that's what portfolio managers do. And then third one on the list would be on wealth management or financial advice. So it's more client facing. You still need to know, obviously investments and whatnot, because you have to provide investment recommendations to your clients. But it is very much you have a client and you meet up with them every, couple of weeks or so to provide them updates on how their portfolio is going and whether that portfolio, is tracking along to help them achieve their goals. So those are the three main buckets. And then you can also end up in, consulting and risk management as well, as opportunities. Yeah.
And I guess, just starting in one um, at the start of your career doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to stay there forever, right? So I guess
Mm.
you can start off with, wealth management, then move up to portfolio management, etc. It just depends on the opportunities that you're given or you're seeking out, right?
That's correct. Sometimes you don't have to move between these roles. Some people stay in wealth management for the duration of their careers. Some people stay as an analyst. Some people do portfolio management for a while because everyone's different. Some people do like the analytical rigor of being a investment analyst, but some people do want to progress into that portfolio manager role where they are looking at risk return from a top-down perspective. They want more of that sort of managerial experience. So it really depends.
And that's the flexibility of this, right? So, it's not
Mhm.
like a CFA designation will just limit yourself to whatever you started off with, right? So that's really good. I just really want to push you a little bit further on, uh, what is the whole big deal about the CFA designation, being a charter holder? Does it really make a big difference to employees? When they see the letters CFA, it seems so minor, three little letters,
Yeah.
on your resume or CV. Does it really make a difference in your opinion?
I think it depends on obviously your background. For example, if you came from a non financial background and you become a charter holder, it speaks volumes to the amount of perseverance that you showed in order to switch into industries. Having said that, I don't think, regardless of where you're from and what background you're from in terms of education or race, it shows that you know the material quite well. You know how to operate within the investments industry, and you know the sort of different asset classes. And I think from that perspective, you become a bit more marketable to employers because they know that you can take up a little bit more work or responsibilities as you progress along in your career. And I think along with that branding, a pay rise is typically accompanied with achievement of the CFA designation. That's what you typically see across all CFA charter holders. Across their journey, usually, more often than not, the pay rises over that time during the duration that they take the exams.
But I guess you still have to work for it, right? Part of my ignorance, I don't think, or maybe you can correct me, is, as soon as you finish the level 3 exam and then, get to put the CFA letters behind your name, it doesn't mean automatically that your managers or your boss would say, okay, well, here's an extra X thousand a year, right? So it's the opening up of the uh, roles and responsibilities that will enable you to get experience, then that will enable you to, ask for more salary and perks, etc. Is that a good way of thinking of it?
Yeah, that's an accurate way. As I said, it is really about opening up the doors. It is really about leveraging, the fact that you passed. Just because you pass doesn't equal pay rise. But what it does mean, it gives you the opportunity to ask for a pay rise, if that makes sense. It
Yeah.
puts you in a room with your manager to say, hey, look, um, I, have a very strong foundation in skills and knowledge in different aspects of in the investment management industry. And if you can use that sort of narrative to say how you can benefit the employer more from like a branding marketing perspective, because when you go see clients, now they know you're a CFA charter holder. That's where the benefit comes from. You put that comma CFA after your name. And
Yeah.
sorry, and that's where the pay rise often comes. If you're more of a passive person and you just put your head behind closed doors and you pass, nothing will happen, right? Because you're not having that open dialogue with your manager.
Yeah, yeah. And the CFA does, or doing the CFA does take a certain type of studied personality to get through it. So not only do you know the theoretical underlyings of all the subjects, but in terms of diligence, in terms of persistence, all the qualities that are required to actually pass an exam as rigorous as the CFA, these are the qualitative aspects that you can also sell, I guess, to your managers, right?
Yes, that's correct. There's a lot of sort of implicit skills and personality sets that come along with the CFA. I think that's what people typically miss.
Yeah,
Everyone look at the surface level and say, you can model a stock or a bond and all these technical skills, but often people underestimate the strong personality sets that come along with studying, and that is so important when you're working in any industry is to have a sort of persistent and diligent motivation skill set that often employers really, really want because they want someone that can stick in a role for quite a bit of time. They're not going to give up whenever a hard task is given to them. They know that this employee will go through the hard yards and will roll up the sleeves to understand, okay, this is a problem and this is how we're going to get through it. That's what the CFA also teaches you along the journey.
sure. Now, I remember, just to set expectations for some of the viewers out there, thinking that the CFA designation will be open doors to millions and dollars and etc. I remember getting my master's degree at an Australian university, and I thought, wow, I'm going to be CEO in the next 2 years simply because I got my master's degree. I dare say that it's still it's the same case with the CFA. Just because you pass your exam and you ought to be congratulated, it doesn't mean that you're going to be CFO, CEO, CIO in the next few years, right? Um,
Yes, that's absolutely correct. Anywhere you go, you have to sort of prove yourself, pay your dues almost, and sort of show people that you got to build familiarity with your company. I often see that experience is the most important factor for your pay. It isn't about your degrees. You can have a really smart person have a number of degrees, but that doesn't mean, they will be most suitable for a CEO, CIO position, because that's at that level, it's all about how do you manage people and your experience in the industry that determines your pay. So to answer your question, yes, you're not going to make millions of dollars within your first couple of years out of uni and you're a CFA charter holder. I think that from a junior level, it will definitely put you on a good foundation for your future career. You will be paid, definitely at industry standard or above industry standard. But regardless of, as I said, like where you are at the junior, mid level, or senior ranks, you still have to sort of put in time with the employer. I see often analysts move from company to company. They might be a senior analyst at a company, but when they move to another one, they had to start again at the more junior rank, just to prove to the new employer that, we operate differently, we have a different philosophy, and you need to learn how to operate under our umbrella. So yeah, that's, I guess, my sort of opinions and thoughts on that.
Now, you touched on a point that I was going to raise as my last question, actually. You mentioned that, you alluded to salary expectations.
Yeah.
So at the top of this call, we talked about, some of the common career paths. Can you give us a feel for, the average salaries in those fields or whatever you're familiar with?
Yeah, sure. I'll start off with the analyst sort of path. So that's the one of the three jobs that I mentioned. So typically, depends on what country you're in. I'd say, if you're in the US, you're looking at 80 to 100,000 US dollars as a range.
A year,
And
right?
yeah, sorry, a year. And then in wealth management, which is the financial advice, client-facing CP roles, that's actually a similar amount, but slightly lower. So I would say 75 to, 95 in that range as well. And then the portfolio managers will earn more than that. So they're typically in the, I'd say 110 to 130. So these are all base range salaries. So for example, on the CFA Institute website, the average portfolio manager salary, who is a CFA charter holder, they earn 126,000 US dollars, but their total compensation is 177,000 US dollars. So you can see that there is quite a big gap between base and total compensation, which will depend on your employer. But in terms of the base ranges, that's the typical range. If you look at like across all three of the jobs, you're looking at anywhere from juniors at 70,000 all the way to 120,000. It's a big range, but that's typically where you end up. And then, yes, in the portfolio manager roles, you'll see a 120 plus upwards. That's typically the salary ranges you'll see.
Sure. And the final word from me is that, as we all compare salaries, just make sure that you do something that, half interests you. It's not all about the money. Of course, that is important. I'm not going to lie. But it's pretty crap if you do your job day in, day out, and you absolutely hate it, regardless
Yep.
of how much money you get paid. So I guess it's a bit of a balance. So that was very insightful, Hugh. Thanks very much for shedding light on some of the common careers that CFA charter holders can expect. For now, if you like this video, please make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you can get notified for when the next video is out. For now, see you later.
See you later. Bye.